file full of hundreds of pages of spreadsheets and detailed analysis that had been done. So we expected to have been sitting here dealing with Mr. Suliman's evidence yesterday, and I said to you on the hoof, expected to go through all of this. Clearly, one can just estimate they literally hundreds of pages, and let me show you, if you can see from where you are, what they look like. The documents look like this: intense line items of hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands, of transactions. Now, it might be that the Commission says it's not intending to refer to all of those transactions, but we have simply not had an adequate or fair opportunity to deal with this. So I want to deal with all of this formally in an application, and I'd like to stand down to bring that application. I think for current purposes, if we have till 12 o'clock, we should be able to get the application out.
Yes, Mr. Shaskalson.
Chair, there are two separate issues to address here. The first is the hundreds of pages that Mr. Barner is brandishing around, and second is the bank statements for 4 months of Tasmica Construction and Medicare. Let me deal with the spreadsheet first. We will not refer to a single one of those pages. We've made that clear to Mr. Carrim's team. Why we gave it to them is that there is an infographic on page 505 of the bundle that they've had for some time. What we sent them electronically, and the infographics provides a summary of payments from municipalities in the area in respect of which Mr. Carrim is the ANC treasurer, to companies owned by Mr. Carrim. And it gives a breakdown of where the 336 million or 332 million that these municipalities have paid to Mr. Carrim, where it comes from. The infographic provides a summary. We thought that Mr. Carrim would want to know where we got the infographic from, so we gave him a spreadsheet with line items of every single transaction reflecting a payment from one of those municipalities to a company of Mr. Carrim, with tabs broken up by company. And we made clear to him we're not going to refer to any of those line items. They are totaled, but if he wants to total them himself just to check that our numbers on the infographic are right, he can do that. If he wants to dispute any of those transactions, he can do that. He had that electronic spreadsheet, which is really the only sensible one.
For how long has Mr. Carrim had what you say is at page 505?
505 was served with the rest of the bundle on Friday. The electronic spreadsheet was emailed to him yesterday morning before the commencement of proceedings. It was always explained to him that we are not going to refer to any line items on the electronic spreadsheet. That leaves the bank statements for Tasmica and Medicare that were provided this morning. And the background to their discovery is the following. Yesterday in evidence, Mr. Carrim told us for the first time that he had had sight of Medicare bank statements over a period in 2024. This was material that should have been put in a statement, which in turn ought to have been furnished Friday, not last week, but the week before. It wasn't put in the statement, which was furnished 5 days late on Wednesday. So we hear this for the first time yesterday. Following from that, I was going through the Medicare bank statements at 5 o'clock this morning, looking to see what SAP's inflows were there to interrogate the version of Mr. Carrim in relation to the terms of his loan agreement and the idea that he was going to get 10% of all SAP's inflows, but he had waived all of that. I wanted to see how much money he had waived. While I was looking for that purpose, I stumbled across the fact that there were two substantial payments from Tasmica Construction, another company of Mr. Carrim, into Medicare 24, which he didn't mention in his statement, and which I would like to ask him about because he certainly should have mentioned them in his statement. The one payment is a payment of $1 million on the 27th of June 2024. The second payment is a payment of $1.12 million on 7 October 2024. There is no innocent explanation for just overlooking the fact that more than 2 million rands beyond what you have disclosed also happened to be paid. The reason that these documents were made available to his legal team today and not earlier was, first of all, he filed his statement late. Second of all, in his statement, he didn't disclose these payments. Third of all, in his statement, he didn't disclose the fact that he was he had sight of the bank transactions on Medicare 24. If he had honestly performed his obligations in any one of those three respects, they would have had these bank statements more than a week ago. So they can't complain about getting them now. And the bank statements really reflect two payments which I've described on both sides. If they want 45 minutes to take an instruction from Mr. Carrim, if they want an hour to take an instruction from Mr. Carrim, I can understand that. They need to understand what his version is, whether he was concealing them, whether there is an innocent explanation. But an hour is more than enough to do that. They then make the allegation that the contra spreadsheet that we gave them just to show that not only do these numbers match, but in fact, they are shown by F&B to be the same transaction by virtue of the contras. They make the suggestion that we have had that document and withheld it from them. That is a very irresponsible suggestion. What we receive from F&B when we get bank statements from F&B is a list of all the contras. So we have contras for the entire Medicare 24 account, thousands and thousands of transactions. We don't search on that set of transactions for Tasmica Construction unless we have reason to search for Tasmica Construction. This morning, I had reason to search for Tasmica Construction. So I searched for Tasmica Construction and identified the two entries that were provided to them this morning. I then copied those two entries into a separate spreadsheet this morning, sometime between 5 and 6, and gave it to them. Nothing has been withheld from them. They received that spreadsheet within 15 minutes of its creation. They can look at the metadata of the spreadsheet. So, in our view, they are entitled to a short stand down to take instructions on the documents that they withheld from us and that we have now discovered, or the information that they withheld from us and we have now discovered. They're certainly not entitled to a postponement. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shoskovsky.
Chair, just to be clear.
Mr. Bana, my colleague Commissioner Baloyi came in when I also wanted to come in and also to raise a similar point. Mr. Carrim himself seems to treat his companies basically either as the same entity, as it were. I know you're going to raise the legal point that they simply cannot be. But look at who was supposed to loan the money. It was Ziggy. But I think the money did not come from... Yes, some of it came from Tamis. And also I think the payment back, was it not to Tamis as well? Even the payment was not to Ziggy, but to Tamis. So he himself is treating his companies in sort of a jumble, as it were. So it seems highly technical as Commissioner Baloyi suggests, for Mr. Carrim to now adopt through you this technical legal position that no, we are dealing with separate legal entities. Tamis is separate from Ziggy, Ziggy is separate from Tamis, and Tamis, or rather, and both of them are separate from Tasmica. That, to me, in the circumstances of what has been happening here, is, I feel, subject to what you say, is highly, highly technical.
Yes. Chair, we're not suggesting, I take your point that he's not always kept the distinctions clear. All we're suggesting is that the criticism that he deliberately withheld information from his statement is not one that can be made. And if that is going to be advanced, and particularly listening to the debate with the commissioners, it's all the more reason why we need time to deal with this carefully and properly. Because you are going to draw inferences. We can see that happening already from aspects which we say you should not. But the point I'm making is this. We don't suggest that he's not entitled to be questioned. Your point is correct that he doesn't always keep a strict distinction. But the submission goes to the criticism that somehow all of these entities that are not mentioned in the statement, I say all, but what applies in respect of Tasmica would apply to his other entities, somehow created an obligation on him to deal with whatever was done internally or otherwise, we don't know, between those companies and himself or Ziggy.
Something else altogether, I don't know if Commissioner Khumalo wanted to come in on the same issue, something different altogether. What's your position with regard to the separation suggested by Mr. Shaskalsin? That is issues relating to, is it the infographic? And the schedule. If those are pushed over to Friday, and that everything else be dealt with today.
Chair, firstly, we're not available on Friday. I'm in the High Court on a matter, and I haven't canvassed my legal team's availability, but Mr. Carrim has me here representing him for this leg, so I'm not available on Friday. But we're happy to agree a date as soon as possible that suits diaries. We say there's no prejudice in holding over all of this to when Mr. Carrim comes back. It's clear his evidence can't be completed today. It's clear that with the stand down, we in any case going to eat up into a substantial portion of today. My learned friend suggests a 45-minute or a 1-hour stand down. It's not in his mouth to suggest that. I don't know how long I'm going to need, but I'm going to do this carefully, and I'm going to take proper time to do so.
If we are not inclined to adjourn so that you should prepare a postponement application, if our inclination is to give you time to consult, what time would you suggest? Mr. Shaskalsin has suggested 45 minutes to an hour. What would you suggest?
Chair, I think at least 2 hours, and I'll come back to you if I need more time. But I do want to say, it seems then that you've prejudged an application that
Mr. Bana, I take strong exception to that.
No.
You know, and you are an experienced counsel, you know that people presiding, let me use the court, the example of courts, you know that judges will engage you during argument, engage you to an extent that you will think they are against you. But in the end, you are surprised that the judgment is in your favor. Engaging counsel has nothing to do with matters being prejudged, and you know that. I take very strong exception to that attitude.
I don't think...
In fact, I find it unprofessional for you to say that I have prejudged issues purely because I'm engaging you. I take strong exception to that.
I don't think that you should take exception. And what
I do.
Can I respond, Chair? What you put to me was that you weren't going to allow an opportunity for the postponement application.
I did not. I did not say I am not. I never said so. We can play back the tape. We can play back the recording.
Then I was mistaken.
So that is, I can actually, to be rough, I can say you are lying.
No, then I was mistaken. I understood you to say that you were not prepared to allow a stand down for the postponement application to be brought, but you were ready to consider the stand down to deal with the documents. If I was mistaken in that, then I'm mistaken, but that is clearly how I understood it.
You definitely are. I did not. It was an if situation, which arises all the time during argument.
Then I accept that. Thank you, Chair. May I just say the apology is unconditional. I did not hear the if when you made the statement, and what you correctly pointed out is you said, if we are not inclined to adjourn. And I understood that you said you were not inclined to adjourn, so the apology is unconditional.
Now the apology is accepted, Mr. Bana.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. We have considered what you submitted, Mr. Bana, and also the responses by Mr. Shaskalsin. Our decision is to afford you and your team an opportunity to consult with Mr. Carrim. At this stage, not necessarily on the aspect relating to the infographic and what is it, or rather, and the documents you showed us earlier this morning. So that will have to stand over to some other day. And seeing that you said you are not available on Friday, then dates will have to be discussed between you and Mr. Shaskalsin with regard to that outstanding issue. As for the rest, the decision is to give you time until 11:45 to consult with Mr. Carrim. At 11:45, we proceed with the hearing. Let's adjourn until 11:45.
Just for clarity, so we don't misunderstand, is the direction that you're going to proceed with him, and we are not entitled to bring an application for a postponement?
Yes, that's the effect of it. Yes. Let's adjourn until 11:45.